Well, guys, hope you guys have had a really good break and were able to rest up over the holidays. As of speaking, I'm probably hopping on the plane to come back to Melbourne. Um, so I'm not here, obviously, as you can probably tell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the video like normal for chapter 4, which we're moving into now, which is trigonometry. I'm going to do a quick video on 4a. Fingers crossed it's a recap. Not too sure. But regardless, I'll make this video. You guys can watch it and do the work. And if you're done, then just do some other work or make your boundary reference a bit early. So what we're going through chapter 4, which, like I said, is trigonometry. And the first thing I'm going to look at is 4a, which is looking at trigonometric ratios. So I'm winging this, so I have no notes. So let's hope this goes well. So we're looking at right angle triangles again. So just to remind you guys what a right angle triangle is, it's something like this. It's a triangle that has a right angle in it. Whoa. And what we're doing in this exercise is we're actually using angles to work out unknown side lengths. So for instance, we might be given a question that has an angle of theta, right? All that means, so all theta means is that it represents an angle that we're trying to figure out. So we'll end up getting a number instead of theta. And we might know the side length of this triangle of this side to be 9 centimeters, and we're told to work out the hypotenuse. Hopefully it's a term you guys remember as well. Hypotenuse is the longest side of the triangle. The way I kind of do it is I look at the point of the right angle and do it opposite. Whatever is opposite the right angle is our hypotenuse. But yeah, so essentially what will happen in this exercise is we're trying to find out the unknown side length. So we might be given an angle of, we'll say 30 degrees. So no, the angle's 30 degrees. We know one side length is 9 centimeters. And we're going to be using those two to figure out the unknown side length. Now, there are 3 ways of figuring out the side. So our first step is actually labeling parts of the triangle. So in a question, we might be given something like this. So we'd be given a triangle, we've been given a side length, and yeah. So we need to go ahead and label stuff. So here's what we do to label. There's 2 parts that we have to label. We have to label our hypotenuse, our opposite, there's 3, and our adjacent side of the triangle. Now those are 3 parts that we need to label, and I'm going to show you how. So like I said, in this exercise, we're going to be given an angle, and then we're working out the unknown, right? We know, like I said before, that whatever's opposite the right angle is our hypotenuse. So we've already labeled one of them, so that's hypotenuse done. Next, we look at the angle. So we can see that we have our angle in the bottom left of the triangle. What we're going to do is we're going to go opposite the angle as well. So we go opposite. This side is opposite the angle. So we call this the opposite side. So we've labeled that. And finally, our last one that's left over is the adjacent side. The adjacent side should always be next to the angle, but not the hypotenuse. Right, so we've got to label our sides. From here, we use one of 3 formulas to work it out. We either use our sine formula, our cos formula, or our tan formula. And here's what they say. The sine formula says if we want to work out the sine of an angle, we do sine theta is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Or we like to write O on H. From memory, this is what my year 10s last year did in year 9, so hopefully it's a bit of a recap. If we're using our cos says cos theta is equal to adjacent divided by a hypotenuse, or we like to write A over H. And if we're working out the tangent of our theta or our angle, we say it's the SOHCAHTOA, it's the opposite over the adjacent. And right now this probably makes no sense, and that's okay. We say O over A. But as we start doing questions, I'll explain how we use these formulas and how they actually relate to what we're talking about, so don't stress. Now, many people, myself included, like to use the phrase SOHCAHTOA, and there's two ways that we write it. So it might be like this. So SOHCAHTOA. Or my girls last year used to used to write it like this. SOHCAHTOA. Not an A. I'll do that again. SOHCAHTOA. And what this tells us is that if we're using sine, right, it's opposite divided by the hypotenuse. If we're doing the cos, it's adjacent divided by a hypotenuse. And if we're doing tan, it's our opposite over our adjacent. So that's why I like using that, because it actually puts it out there for you to see. So what we do is we use all this information to find the unknown length of a side angle, and later on we'll be using this to find out the angle as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you guys to get your calculator out. We're going to do a couple work examples. I'm going to set you some questions. So let's do some examples. So just to get us used to our calculator, one, use your calculator to solve the following. Let's do question A. We'll do cos of 37 degrees. B, we'll do tan of 50 degrees. C, we'll do sine of 72 degrees. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to get your calculator out. Bam. Oop, that didn't work. Bam. Get your calculator out. Go on the main screen. So if you're on a different screen, down the bottom, press main. Now, it's cut off on my screen. Maybe I can show you here. It's flipped, isn't it? You want your settings down the bottom to say ALG, decimal, real, and deg. The most important is that it's on deg, which is for degrees. We don't want it on gradient or radian. We want it on deg. And then all you're going to do is get your press keyboard, go to math 1. I want you to put cos, then inside the brackets put 37, close the bracket, press exe, and we get an answer of 0.798 or 0.80. Just round to decimal places. So, oops, wrong one. So we got 0.80 for the first one. The next one says tan of 50 degrees, so get your calculator out. We're going to go to math 1, tan, number, 50, close bracket. Then we're going to do, so we can see it's 1.19. You probably can't see because my thing is in the way. Let's see if I can move it. Whoop. That's what it is. So 1.19, we'll go back to here. 1.19, and finally the last one I'll put in the calculator is sine of 72 degrees. So again, keyboard, math 1, sine 72, close bracket, exe. We get 0.95. 0.95. So if you ever want to find out where sine is, it's on math 1. Sine, cos, and tan are on math 1. That's just you getting used to the calculator. Let's do an example. So this is now where we're using our ratios. For question 2, let's do this. So decide which ratio to use. When we say ratio, we're talking about sine, cos, or tan. Would be used to solve the value of x. Sorry about my handwriting, I'm holding my iPad in my hand. So decide which ratio to use. So sine, cos, or tan. That doesn't make sense. To solve the value of x. My bad. Not really sorry, but it's all good. So question A, we'll do a triangle. Right angle triangle. So remember, we're always working with right angle triangles in this. Right angles there. 29 degrees. We have 7 here. We have x there. So we have this triangle. We know that there's 29 degrees in the bottom right. We know one side length is 7, and we want to find the side length of x. Step number 1 is to label our sides. So remember, we're labeling them hypotenuse, adjacent, or opposite. So I'm going to start with my opposite. I'll start from the right angle and go opposite my right angle. So this is my hypotenuse, right? The longest side, that's my hypotenuse. I'm just going to call it h. Next, we look at the angle and we go opposite the angle. That's called my opposite. And the last one is my adjacent. So here you can see that in this triangle, I have my hypotenuse and I want to find my opposite. So we go back to our ratio. Which one uses O and H? So sine, cos, or tan. And we can see that sine uses O over H. So we know we're going to use sine. So step 1 is pick a label our side. Step 2, decide which ratio. So here we know we're using sine. So I'm going to write the formula out. Sine theta equals to O over H, right? That's the formula. That's the ratio. Step 3, fill in the info. So what I mean by that is now instead of theta, we're going to put our angle in. Instead of O, we're going to put whatever it is in. And instead of H, we're going to put whatever it is in. So we're going to do sine of the angle. We look at our triangle. The angle is 29 degrees. Close bracket is equal to our opposite. Opposite's what we're trying to find out. So I do x. Then the formula says divided by our hypotenuse, which is 7. So we have a formula of sine 29 equals sine 29 degrees equals to x over 7. And from here we're trying to find out x. Now, here's what we do. Very easy. Step 4. Solve. All we're going to do is get our calculator. We're going to hit the solve button. Solve's going to come up. And we're just going to put in sine 29 is equal to x over 7. So we're telling the calculator to solve this equation. Now we have to do comma x and close bracket. Remember that comma x tells the calculator, hey, we're solving for the letter x. So let's do that in our calculator. Yeah. So math 1, solve. It was sine 29 equals x over 7. And then we're going to do comma x close bracket. Bam. And we can see x is 3.39. So x equals 3.39. What that tells us is this side length here, this entire side length is 3.39. So again, our first step, label our sides. Our second step is to decide which ratio to use. And our third step is to fill in the info. Fourth step is chuck it in solve in the calculator. Now, that's really it. As for which questions I want you to do, I'm going to tell you right now in a second. So let me get the page number. That's really it. I don't think I need to go through any more work examples. Hopefully you guys understand it from that. If you don't, watch some Eddie Wu videos. I reckon they'll be pretty good. So on page 269 and it goes to 270 as well. I want you to do question 1, question 2. We're going to do a lot of these. Question 3, because the more we do, the better it is. With these, you probably won't have to draw the triangles. You can just do the information. Oh, not question. We're going to do question 3. A, C, E, G, I, K. So every second one, because there's way too many there. Oh, good. I want you to do question 4. That looks good. Question 5, 6, and 7. As extension works, if you finish that, I want you to do question 12. I want you to do question number 13 as extension. That's a very good one. And that's it. Perfect. Hopefully this video was okay. It's pretty late, so sorry if I mumbled or something. I'm very tired. Other than that, I will see you guys when I'm back. Have a good one.